Mastering communication and tonality. This is across the board for everyone, whether you are sending a message, a DM, or you're talking to somebody face to face through a Zoom. This matters just as much. Your words matter, right? But what matters even more than your words is how you say them. So your tonality, your confidence, your communication skills, these are all things that determine whether a prospect really trusts you and if they move forward. So we're gonna go over the 3 pillars of effective communication. The first pillar is your tonality. Without compromising your own confidence, right? We want to match our tone and our, I'll say, energy level to the energy that the prospect is giving us. For example, if you have a prospect who comes on the call, they're super excited, they're ready to learn more, they're happy, they're energetic, that's what we're gonna match. If you have a prospect that comes on the call and they join and they're serious, like, hi, how are you doing? Blah, 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 and they're like, good. We're automatically going to get a more serious and to the point kind of tone and attitude about us, not in a snobby way, not in a mean way, but just in a matching the tone and expectation of the prospect. The next thing that you need to focus on is your pacing. So, and this is something that we'll go over in our role plays, so that, because a lot of times it's hard to really recognize when you're going too fast, too slow, when you're dragging, when you're saying so many things at once that the client can't really process one thought at a time. Those are things that are hard to recognize, and so we'll work on those things together. But try to keep in mind the pace that you are talking, and how many points you are making before you give the prospect an opportunity to respond or to ask a question or to clarify any points. Third thing that we need to focus on is active listening. So a lot of people think that I've met some people who think that a conversation is, hey, let's sit down and I'm going to tell you all of the reasons that this X, Y, and Z. But really a conversation is, hey, let's sit down, and the first thing that I'm going to do is listen to you. And before I give you what my thoughts are, and before I put my input into the conversation, I'm going to dig deeper into what you are saying. And if both parties do that, that's a truly effective conversation, and that really shows you're actively listening. So the 3 steps to our prospect that you're actively listening is to engage with the prospect. This is through eye contact, this is through head nods as they're talking, yes, okay, things like that. These show that you're engaging with the prospect. You're also going to acknowledge their concerns. So anytime that a prospect brings up a concern, so let's give an example. I love everything that you're doing, but my wife isn't home and my wife and I make the decisions together. This is how I would respond. Absolutely, 100%. Your wife isn't home. I don't make decisions without my spouse either. That's the most important thing. And then move on. So yes, we're going to acknowledge what they said. We're not going to skip over it. And 2, we're going to agree with what they said. Now, we'll work on objection handling later on, so we can work on that specific objection, but just remember, acknowledge and agree. And the last thing is to respond thoughtfully. So I kind of mentioned this a little bit, but instead of just, okay, yeah, and then moving on to the next point, we're going to, okay, yeah, and then dig deeper into what they're saying and think of a thoughtful response. For example, if they say, yeah, right now I work at Walmart. And instead of saying, oh, okay, cool, and then moving on, okay, so you work at Walmart. Okay, is there anything that you don't like about working at Walmart, or is that somewhere you want to be for the rest of your life? Things like that.